Hi folks, you're with Tassless today, your pushback channel. Thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the claims that are across areas of the United States, such as New York and Chicago and other areas that are sort of illegal alien intensive hotspots, these places, since the raids and the deportations are going on. Bear in mind that a fairly small number of people, there's 30 odd million illegals in the US and only 10,000 or so have been deported so far, this is a tiny pinprick of the total. Nonetheless, the claim is that vast areas in New York and Chicago and other cities that have turned into ghost towns, and that the workers in the restaurants and the corner stores and the convenience stores and the bodegas and all that sort of stuff, that the workers aren't turning up, and the place is going into, there's no customers because everyone's scared. Now, I don't know how many illegals are in those areas that it turns into a ghost town. And there are some videos doing the rounds on like YouTube and so on, where they've got some video or a photograph of what they claim is the street on a normal day, say a year ago or a couple of years ago, and it's bodies peeling off in all directions, and then a picture today, and there's no one in the street. It's like I don't know. It looks rather summery in some of those others, and now it's winter, so it's cold, so you'd expect a difference. Nonetheless, let's assume that the claims are true, that it was a bustling street full of illegal aliens, criminals and Trinidad, all this sort of stuff. There were murders by the second going on, and the vibrancy and the diversity and the enrichment and so on. But today, there's no one in the street at all. And again, the owners of the corner stores and the restaurants and cafes and whatnot, they're complaining, well, none of my workers are turning up anymore. They're too scared of being deported. So let's just have a look at this. I mean, exactly how many illegal aliens are there in an area? If the place goes from a bustling, vibrant, busy street into no one on the street, then that would suggest that close to 100% of that local population are illegals. I mean, wow. I mean, that is a serious wow factor. And if that is the case, why don't ICE just move in, do the kettling as they're quite happy to do when white people are protesting about anything at all, because they're Nazis, of course. So it's kettling, block off all the streets and check everyone's ID. And if you haven't got a genuine bona fide ID, anyone that speaks with either can't speak English or speaks with a heavy Mexican accent, put them out for further processing. So you'd need to have your logistics in place for that, and you'd probably pick up tens of thousands of illegals just in that sort of a sweep, which would be a very efficient application of resources rather than chasing them down one by one, door by door. That's labor intensive, and the idea you're going to deport 20 plus million people, 30 million people in 4 years by knocking door to door, that's an ambitious program indeed. So you're going to have to move into these illegal alien intensive areas and just do big dragnet sweeps and then pick up again tens of thousands of them at a time. Now let's have a look at the illegals. Or let's have a look at these stores. Now I've mentioned this many times before. That mass migration and also the legal migration of low IQ, IQ 70 illiterate third world peasants into the West in large numbers has created an artificial, unproductive parasite economy, a parasite economy that's operating in tandem to the real economy. Now, whether you want to call that a black economy or an underground economy, or it doesn't really matter, but it's a parasite economy. And the quicker that's got rid of, the better it will be for everybody. Now, looking at these what's happened, I'll do a simple sort of version here. the international criminal gangs, criminal mafia, call it what you like, from these third world countries, whether it be India or China or South American places, it doesn't matter. They've moved into these working class areas and they've bought up, often, being heavy and beating the crap out of the owners, or they'll make sure that no one goes to the store. They put heavies and goons in the street to stop people going to the store. Then they'll go to that owner, say, we'll buy it off you. Whereas they've strangled off the business to begin with, and effectively forced the person to sell their convenience corner store to the criminal gang. Now, the criminal gang then will in effect sell it to one of their someone from their racial diaspora, but you'll have to borrow the money from them to buy the store. So they're the owners, and it's okay to, for example, we'll sell it to you for $100,000 or whatever the price is, but for example, in round numbers, $100,000, and there's, say, a 20 or 25% interest rate, annual interest rate payable on that. And so the whole family has to work there, or what the criminal gang does, because they've got the mass migration of illegals coming in, or illegal mass migration. So we'll supply all the workers for you. We'll supply everything, and they'll work for half the wage that an American worker will work for. But you'll have to pay them cash under the table. We'll then levy another management fee on the loan we give you, and that'll be payable to an offshore account, or will be levied as a managerial fee by some front bullshit company we've made up. So that'll then allow you to claim a tax deduction against the wages that you're paying under the table as cash that you can't record. You've got to pay it off the books. So we'll square that away for you. So straight away, tax evasion on a grand scale, because the employees are working there. The illegal alien employees are working there. They're not paying tax, and then the cost of those wages that's paid out in cash is then recouped in tax deduction as a management fee on the backhand by these offshore bullshit tax evasion schemes. So the criminal gang's got it all squared off, and no one's paying any tax, and they're making monumental profits in the process. So they have this pipeline, and they're actively aiding and abetting illegals coming into the country, because that gives them the employees that they can then force to work in these corner stores that they themselves have owned and artificially, if you like, created. And it could be a corner store, it could be a restaurant or a coffee shop. It doesn't matter. That's what they now. If that corner store wants to buy anything, supplies for the store, the groceries and the drink, they have to buy also from the cartel that's owned and run by the criminal gangs. So that in turn is and also the people, the locals, illegals in the neighbourhood, if they want to buy anything, they have to buy it from those shops that they're designated. So okay, you have to buy your stuff from that shop. So it becomes a cartel oligopoly type situation where it's a round robin, where the money just flows back and forth around and round. I mean, it sounds like USAID, doesn't it? But no, this is how the criminal gangs are doing it. So there's an entire economy here, or subset of the economy that's reliant totally on criminal gangs from third world or foreign countries, artificially buying up businesses that they have undermined or caused to be in a state of distress, and then reselling them to people from their diaspora, and then supplying them with illegal employees, using illegal methods to make sure the shop only buys supplies from certain sources, and so on and so forth. Also, restaurants where they're cooking the food off premises, in apartments or wherever, by illegals in the local area, and not producing food to standards of hygiene and code and so on, and this in turn then keeps the money moving tightly within the illegal alien diaspora. So these are just some of the things that are going on, and some of the scams. The same can be said for the Indians that love buying up franchises in takeout food, takeout chicken shops, and I don't know, pizzas, whatever else. But it's only viable that they get the money loaned to them from an Indian goon gang, mafia gang. They then buy that business and pay offshore managerial fees so that no tax is ever paid by the business. The business is only viable because they've got illegal aliens or just third world peasants being brought in illicitly, skilled workers or some bullshit like that, working there, and they work for half or a quarter or a fifth even of what a proper legal local worker would get paid. Then on top of that, they package up the income of the individual, so they say part of the income is paid in rent, where they put them up 20 to a 2-bedroom apartment, or travel, where they bring them from wherever the apartment is to the place of work, food, which is then supplied to them by the food business, like the takeout chicken shop, whatever that they work in, and then they in turn have to pay for that, so that the business can legitimately argue, well, no, they're being paid a proper wage, but in fact it's all being dispersed across other businesses and property that the criminal empire owns anyway. But the bottom line is the employee pays no tax. So what benefit to the Australian or to the US or to the Western country? What benefit is it to them, because they don't collect any tax on what the workers are getting paid. They don't collect any tax on what the business is making because of all the offshore deductions they're using. So that there's not a penny of tax that's paid by these criminal empires, but they undermine the wages and the standards of food hygiene, right across the board. It's a disaster. And yet somehow the globalist goons, they look the other way. No, that's all okay. But it's created this artificial economy, and that if these businesses had to pay proper wages and work to proper standards, work to code, they'd all go out of business. Or many of them would, not all of them, but many of them would. But it's an artificial conduit anyway, a completely artificial delusion economy that's been installed solely for the purpose of processing third world illegal workers and aliens. I mean, it's insane. But there you go. And so this is what's happening now. If all these people are sent back and mass repatriated, this is a good thing. It's a very, very good thing, because it means that resources will deploy in efficient, manageable businesses, and that these illegal aliens will all have to go back. The workers that are being brought in under false pretenses, which are just in the millions in Australia alone, workers being brought in under false pretenses because they're supposedly skilled workers when they're illiterate peasants with an IQ of 70. The only thing they can do is flip burgers or wash dishes. They're not skilled, and they need to be sent back in a mass repatriation scheme. And this will then restore confidence, efficiency, and standards and quality back into these areas of the economy all across the West, but America too, that have been hijacked by these international criminal gangs, and this would all be a good thing, and it can't happen before time. Coming back to the US now, it illustrates that again, that nearly every worker in these areas is an illegal alien. Nearly every business is owned and run by, or funded rather, by illegal alien criminal gangs, and this goes on and on. Similarly, the knock-on effect of all this is that the legal authorities, nearly every prison in the United States, I'll do a separate video on this, is at full capacity. Many of them are at 120, 130% of capacity. Prisons that are meant for 1,000 inmates have got 1,200, 1,300, 1,400, 1,500 inmates, which is insane. So there's huge pressure to not put more people in prison, and so this has a wider knock-on effect as the authorities now look for, well, let's not prosecute sort of crime. So if you steal less than $1,000 from a shop, we don't care. You're fine to do that. That's created because there's so many lawbreakers now with all these illegal aliens running around, the criminal gangs. there's so much law breaking that the system just can't cope with it. So they keep on looking at new ways to not prosecute people, not charge them, and not have to put them in prison. So this in turn is having a knock-on effect that the criminal behaviour, especially with things like shoplifting, have increased now to a stage where folks are openly on the New York streets, openly selling, criminal gangs are controlling this, openly selling the proceeds of theft from local stores, local shops, and it's still got the price stickers on, and they're just putting it out on the sidewalk there and selling it at a substantial discount and collecting the cash. So it's all cash. But for some reason, the authorities just walk past this and do nothing. But what can they do? If they do something, then they've got to prosecute, or they arrest these people and get their details. But if it's a sanctuary city, the local authorities don't want to do that for fear that these people inevitably will be illegal aliens. Then they'd have to be reported, or they'd have to look the other way in the event they've got this sanctuary city insanity. So these are the wider knock-on effects. So as the illegals are deported in these ghost towns, as they call it, then it's a good thing. It's a good thing because it's bringing sanity and standards and quality back to not only the economy, but the businesses, the local businesses, the hiring practices, the legal standards, and so on. You've been Tassus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.
Notice also in the past couple of days